section.
We're back on
back.
Barstools and Bandtalk with Sharon Burry. Maybe that's not, I'm not sure.
Just before we stopped, we started talking about the start of Sharon being the Brutal Beat, which the version I saw would have been 1989. So I didn't get to see when you guys first started, but you mentioned Creighton. So let's talk about that band, because I mean, great players in that band.
Yeah, Creighton Dome, Guy, T.J. Myers on guitar, and Willie.
And Willie Dobson.
Willie Dobson, yep.
Needed one dark-haired guy to round out the ton of blonde.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Well, actually, in that particular unit, our hair could have been any color any given week.
So what was that? What was that band
we enjoyed
for,
the crazy colors.
When was that band put together?
Yeah, what year would that have been?
When was it put together? Oh my God, yeah, there's a little band I did in before that even called Band of Angels, which was through, we went with Doug Kirby at that time. That was the one time I veered away from Hazen.
Wow.
Ran away from him.
Ran away.
But when I came back, then I had more control because I was not with Sharon being the Brutal Beat so much. That was still a Scorpio rendering.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I did a duo with TJ, and I went on and started doing my own bookings and just had more control over what I was going to do or whatever. But at that time, we were just working to make a living anyway.
Who was Scorpio? Who ran Scorpio?
Scorpio was headed by Hazen Horseman. It was owned by a name. Well, it was owned by a guy who had a few restaurants in the city. Okay. And I think had stakes in probably the Palace. And we had a little agency called Scorpio Talent, and downstairs was a recording studio called Nova Records, where I think Oakley would have recorded Rock and Roll Gypsies. Was that the title of that album? First album?
I remember being read.
And I think Terry Hattie put some music through that studio. Sam Moon definitely would have. People were very loyal in those days. There was Bruce Hudson, and he had his, what do they call it?
Entourage?
The horses, his stall.
Yeah.
He had his stall. And Hazen had his stall. He didn't work alone. He had Mike Shepard in there, right? Mickey Quays, I think, was this guy. I can't believe I'm remembering these names. Mickey Quays, and there was another guy doing the agenting at the time. There was a slew of them. They came and went. And then there was Helen and Diane. They were the mothers of that terrible drama. They were the ones who actually ran the place, let me tell you. They were the ones who ran the place because all of those creative people in all the one place headed up by Hazen. Hazen was a trip. Like, he really was a trip. And he did a lot of freaking crazy crap, and it pissed a lot of people off. But he always got their love back. Because he could always spin a gig. Now, it might not be the money that you were told you're going to get paid.
But you're working, ain't you? You're working, ain't you? You're working.
But you're working, ain't you? Right. So he did all, he did. But in the end, musicians were different breed back then too, because we were loyal to our stalls. We were loyal to our,
Well, you were there. You were with Star Makers. That's why I'm kind of confused where Star Maker and Scorpio get kind of intertwined, because
I don't know Star Maker. I can't remember that. That's Hazen. Is that?
That was Hazen. Hazen, Robert.
So Hazen was that was before. Wasn't that before Scorpio Talent? I think that was. Wasn't that when he was in Moncton?
He had just left Dwayne Coughlin.
Or was that with Marcel Cloutier?
No, it was him and Rob McClellan and Carlos Dunez, whatever his name was. And he did Secret Treaties. Hazen had you guys and Drama.
Did have Sharon B. and the Brutal Beat, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the old switcheroo happened between Sharon B. and the Brutal Beat and Drama, yeah.
Exactly. So that was like '87 when we first started there. So I remember you guys being in that stall.
Yeah. And then when that ended, I think TJ and I did a duo for a little while, and then we bought Willie back. And who did we have on drums? Luc Majol. And I don't even know. I don't know where he lives. I don't know if he lives in Halifax still. I've got him on Facebook. And who else in that band? Just Willie. Oh yeah, because we were using the programming.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when we started that. That's where we started that whole thing.
Okay. We're still calling it Sharon B. Was it still Sharon B then?
Sharon B and the Brutal Beat. Yeah, we carried on the name afterwards.
Okay. When I had the pleasure of playing with you guys down at that Saint Effects show, you had Brett Bezanson on drums. Who Brett was one of my
Brett.
all-time favorite
always
players.
And forever. And he was in my last outfit before I threw in the towel.
Yeah,
that was my drummer.
He was. When I saw him play with you guys, he was great. And I remember saw him. He played with Gorilla with Willie and Neil McKinnon, and I just remember like, holy shit, where did this guy come from? Because he was very. He had the dance stuff down. He played the click track.
But he had finesse as well. He was a very dynamic drummer. Which is not a lot of them, especially when they get excited. And he would get excited, but he always managed to bring himself back. He always had a firm grip on it all. He had a lot of finesse, is what I want to say about him.
He did for sure. And just such
I would stop and listen to. You don't stop and listen to the drummer play. I would stop.
Well, you haven't played with me yet, Sharon. So
okay.
It'd be like, what the frig are you doing?
The night's young though.
Yeah. But no, Brett was and just such a kind guy. He was just such a
very
nice guy.
Sweet guy.
Yeah.
They ate a ton of food in between sets.
Yeah.
Hey, for that.
So if you had you said you had pre-recorded tracks then in that band?
Yeah. No, we were using. Jesus, this is not I didn't know what we were using. I sang.
Yeah. So he was
playing it all together.
Yeah.
So give you a reason to want to die or something. I don't know. It was one of those early days where you had the floppy disk, whatever that device was.
You guys you were using DAT tapes.
Yes, yes. Yeah. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. No, the reason I remember that is because it was probably one of my first experiences seeing a band doing that, because I just remember the DAT machine and whatever.
Bruce Wheaton, not Bruce Wheaton, but Larry Maillet.
Oh yeah.
There with
that. Because Kurt Hahn used to program a lot of that stuff too back in the day.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So flipping back though, I'll tell you a funny story, and you wouldn't know this, or you might not remember it. You used to work at Micmac Mall, and you worked with a friend of mine's. Well, and you worked with a friend of mine's sister. And I remember we were at the mall one day, and we were two kids walking. Like, we said to my buddy's sister, "Who's this friggin' rock girl that's working? Like, what store is that?" My buddy was just he bought a pile of stuff from your store. I don't know. Anyway,
from the hot rod chick.
But I just always remember you like with the big huge hair, and you were you used to manage. I don't remember what store it was, but you managed a store or something, did you not?
I didn't manage the store. No, I wasn't there long enough. I just TJ and I, when we started the duo, basically I worked there to get the 50% discount because we wore all of our stage gear came from the chateau. And they never talked to us,
That's hilarious.
We were good shit all the time. So basically, I had that gig just 3 nights a week, and we were playing on the weekends. Every once in a while, we'd throw together Sharon B and the Brutal Beat and play at the Palace or somewhere around town. Crazy Horse. I don't think the Crazy Horse. It was the Crazy Horse then. I played that building when it was Lucille's. Just after it switched over to Lucille. That's when I came over here. I didn't go there when it was. I didn't know. I was never there as Lucifer's. It was Lucille's, and it was the upstairs was the rock room, downstairs was the gold room. I think it was the same thing as Lucifer.
The silver room was upstairs, Lucille's was downstairs, and they changed the name because the Pope was coming to town. That's why they changed the name from Lucille's to Lucille's.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, there was a funny little story in there. Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
The name Lucifer.
Now, I have a question for you. What did your folks think about you going on the road?
People still did that thing.
I wanted to ask you, like, what your folks thought about you leaving the church.
I think my mother was probably devastated that I was out with a bunch of gypsies running around playing guitar singing, right? Like, I think she was devastated. Like, God gave me my voice. I'm using it for the devil's music by her.
Yeah.
Or by her, the way she felt in her heart. She didn't have a lot to say to me about it because I wouldn't listen anyway. I was pretty rebellious. at that age. I had to be, though. I was in a room full of, I would use Richie Oakley's language, but 5, PGs.
Well, Dave and I can relate because we grew up Catholic, and the goal was to get past grade 9 so you didn't have to go to Sunday school anymore.
Yes.
So one of the little weird things. And Dave and I actually met in a church basement, if you can believe that. So it's kind of funny. I feel your.
I didn't go. Here's a little snippet of my life when it comes to like pop music and all that. I didn't go to a dance ever in my whole high school years until my graduation, and I fought to do that. But she still came there and watched me from the side.
Yeah.
Which was mortifying, all of that stuff. But I mean, that's everyone's story. But yeah, I don't think she was pleased. I think she thought I was going to grow up. I never talked about singing when I was young. I just did it. It was something that we did in church, and then I got picked out a couple of times to do a harmony. And then I think they bumped me up from junior choir to senior choir a year early. My voice was an alto voice. I was doing an alto harmony. My voice has been raw or rough or whatever adjective you want to put in there. Since I was 4 or 5 years old, I had my tonsils removed.
Okay.
When they removed my tonsils, they left behind, I only found out this a few years back, they left a little piece of scar tissue behind. So it always affected the vocal cords and the way they vibrated, the air going in and out. So you hear someone with air going in and out of that raspy sound. That's only because there's something constricting those cords from vibrating together. Something in between. The air is leaking. So I always spoke funny. I was so embarrassed about it as a girl. Like, it sounded like a boy when I was younger. I think my voice only got higher as I know when it happened, when I had kids.
Yeah.
My mother came back into me. There's my soprano. There's my soprano. Right? Yeah, no, oh God. No, I don't know. I just lost my train of thought.
Well, what's your favorite stuff to sing now, Sharon? I mean, you played a lot of songs, a lot of different artists, a lot of different genres, from, like you said, you have Black Sabbath and Blondie in one band up to the dance stuff. So what do you prefer to sing? Like, what's your
I love to
wheelhouse?
sing is I love to play pretend with Ella Fitzgerald and people like that. I get stuck on records and I will play them incessantly for like 3 and 4 years at a time, and then I'll switch to something. I'm really, I like to expand my range in comfort, so it's always the blues if I'm singing best. But I've never done a lot of that. But when I'm singing at home by myself, the blues is what led for me to go in and out of my chest voice and my head voice smoothly.
Nice.
Yeah. That's what I enjoy doing. Some people have said to me, well, why wouldn't you just do a jazz? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I could do it. I love singing along with Ella. I love when her and I are singing together.
Your private audience.
Ella. Yeah.
I had a private audience last night with Ella Fitzgerald. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm a softened down version of. I mean, could I throw a band together and go out and do some heavy metal just for the hell of it? Yes, I could do that. Yes, I could do that just for fun, right?
Well,
but I mean,
I got a throw down for you here, Miss Burry.
Oh,
I got a throw down here for you, Miss Burry.
We're starting a band. Yes.
No, you know what?
Oh.
When all this stuff is done, because Dave and I we're doing a live show, but we're talking about doing some other fun stuff. We should get you out, and you should do a couple tunes with us if we do that. I would love that.
The only time I've come out since I quit is when people die.
Well, now you know what, Dave.
The only times I've been.
We could probably kill somebody.
It might not be good.
No, Dave and I actually saw you out. It was like where we went. We were at Big Leagues the night that it was a Saturday night. And I remember saying to Dave, "The place is packed." Yeah, that's not too bad. You were there because a couple of our friends were playing. And I remember Dana Westfall coming over and he says, "Yeah, all this stuff's going to be shut down next week." And I'm like, "No way! It's good." and then Monday the call came. That was
Sharon there that night? The 14th? Was that the last night?
Yes.
Oh wow. Yeah, that was
At
it.
Big Leagues.
Yeah,
At
you were
Big
with us that night at Big Leagues. That was the last night before they all.
Oh yes, I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. Yeah, but I didn't get up and sing.
No. But
you don't know.
I danced. I like to dance.
There you go.
Yeah, you can't do that right now either. But anyway.
Yeah.
So we're starting a band.
But
That's
yes.
cool.
So
surprise.
we'll have to get you up for a couple of tunes when we finally do that. I would absolutely love that. And whatever you want to do, you know what? Yeah, I would just sit there and listen. That'd be awesome. So when's the last time you've actually did a show or played?
Oh my goodness. Was it Scrapper?
Oh, so that was
Scrapper. Hazen passed away before Scrapper. I always get those two mixed up.
Scrapper first, Hazen second.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it was Hazen then. It was Hazen.
Okay.
I was at Monty's.
Okay.
I got up then with John Geddes and Barry and Steve Lutley. His name just came to me. Steve Lutley. And Bill McLeod. Because Bill McLeod did work with us in this room as well. Bill McLeod replaced Danny Champagne. And he was only with us for like a year, I think. But he was around the business, so he couldn't go on the road, and we wanted to go on the road. I was always on the road. I was always on the road from the time, right from the beginning to the time, TJ and I were on the road. I was always on the road.
Let me ask you a question now, okay? I need to be honest. Fair? Now, were you the prima donna chick who wouldn't grab the cables and stuff and grab the heavy gear, or are you right in there?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yes, I was. I folded up my own mic porch. There's 5 big burly boys there to do stuff. They could do the stuff. Let me go and take my makeup off. I had things I had to do too.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Plus, I had to do the PR. I had to go out and say goodnight to everybody.
We're getting a new singer, Sean. She's not in the band after all.
Well, I was going to say, those people nowadays, they call them bass players. They don't call them singers.
Oh, you're such an asshole.
I was a little shit for a long time until I had children. I was a little rebel girl. I always had that in me from very early days. I always had that.
So now your kids are how old?
Bullfrog with a big mouth.
How old are your kids now?
20, 21. And I have 3 grandbabies.
There you go.
Yes. And that's part of the reason why it's been so hard to get hooked up here with Sharon on this show, because she's got a busy social life. I get it. I mean, it's been a weird time. So anytime you can get a chance to spend with your family, by all means, we want you to.
No. And I just hugged my little 5-month-old, freshly baked baby,
freshly
little Lena Ray. I just hugged her for the first time. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Time since, not the first time.
No.
I was in the hospital when she was born, but the first time since probably about the 3rd week in February.
Yeah, it's for people like you that have that going on, people that have lost people like funerals and stuff like that, it's been really I feel for them for sure. And for
that's why I say I was glad to be going to work. Because my routine wasn't changing. I was getting up every morning, getting it together, going to work. Much of the time I take the Metro Transit. You can't park in Halifax anyway. But I take the Metro Transit, and I was alone on the bus a lot of going over and coming back. I was alone, all by myself. So it wasn't so bad there that way as far as the fear was. But then but look, we're sort of on the never mind our neighbors down there, but beneath us. But we're doing pretty good with it. Just we got hot spots. Toronto and Vancouver, we would expect that anyway.
We're trying to bring to light that you have to. I mean, and we've always been very careful on the show not to accentuate the negative, because there's enough of it out there. All you gotta do is open your eyes, and it's right there. So what we're trying to do is just kind of be a little bit of a distraction, positive spin on things. But going forward, we have to be smart. We have to be careful. But we're not fucking dead yet. You know what I mean? There's things to do. You know what I mean? Sean and I have been out now 3 weekends in a row, being careful and just kind of monitor what's going on. And it's refreshing, because there was 3 months where it's like, oh my God, this is the end of the world.
Oh, it is a lot. It is a lot. Even the first hug I had from my daughter-in-law, even, and my son, it was just, didn't realize how much it was affecting me, actually, to tell you the truth. I didn't realize till it happened,
Well, you know,
It's such a big
that's
relief.
a very good point, Sharon, because a lot of people like, you know, mental health was always kind of a taboo thing to talk about back in the day, and you had to bell that stock. But I think that a lot of people have had a bit of like a serious rough time with that.
Yeah.
And you know, it's good that I got to tell you, and I mean, a friend of mine just posted something on Facebook tonight about how negative it is, and I think you choose to decide what you're going to let in your brain. So you know,
and you gotta know when to take a news break and when to take a media break.
Yes,
absolutely.
You have to be very, you know, you have to be careful of what your mind is getting full of.
You're right. Because I had to do that.
Idle hands are the devil's playground. My grandmother used to.
Right. Absolutely. And it's, you know, so anyway, I just think that I'm glad things are opened up. You know, the last 3 weeks that we were out, you can see there's an energy downtown. It's not the same right now, but it's starting to, you're starting to see more people. It's fun. And so anyway, it's good. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think, I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
If it continues on, then we just have to all be doing what we previously did.
That's right.
Do that same thing over. And we'll find ways around it. Look at everything that's happened now. You know, all of these new websites like your own. They're like, what a gift.
It's a good point.
What a gift it is, right? I was on another one and gave up on it because I was always on this page. So, you know, like I like that. And all of the kitchen party stuff that's going on from people who don't sing right up to the professionals. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It was, you know what, and she was a kind of an inspiration for us too, because I guess initially what we wanted to do is kind of bring that to life, meet the people, and we love the amateurs, and that was giving them hope and some again healthy distraction. And Heather did a great job putting that whole thing together. Jesus, almost 300,000 people. Like, it was giving a lot of people joy, you know. We kind of took a different turn to be more of an entertainment council, almost, you want to call it that, to bring it to life. And but it was for us initially just a distraction too, because I was like going my mind, and I didn't know what else to do. I was a Serbian income. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, you know. And this came up, and we started it, and it's the thing now. It took off.
Most potent inspiration is always born out of desperation and darkness to me. The most potent, you know.
Very astute.
Yeah, because when I don't know, actors and actresses have said this, and people in music have said this, and poets have said this, and then other people get upset to hear it, but you can't. Joy and pain go together. You can't know what one is without the other. So, right? What would joy be if we didn't know what it was like to feel uncomfortable?
Wow, you know what, that's some great insights for sure. Because I feel similar thoughts on certain things. Because you know, everybody
just
again.
Smart and pretty. Just saying, smart and pretty.
Did we mention Dave interrupts a lot in the show? But anyway. But I have another friend who was on Facebook, and he was always talking about everybody's life is amazing, and my life sucks. And it's like, you know what? You're getting the good side. You're not, you know what I mean? Nobody's posting, you know, the car blowing up, or nobody's like, they're only posting like that selfie. You know what I mean?
We have to be very grateful. We have to be.
Yeah. You just have to really watch what you're absorbing into your skull, for sure. And the thing about our show that's kind of good is, you know, Dave and I give people hope, because two freaking idiots from Dartmouth can have a little bit of success just interrupting each other and swearing and drinking. I mean, anybody can do it.
I love it. No, I love the whole idea. I love your concept. I love the format. I love the way, you know, I don't see anything. Everything is so, and there's a comic aspect to what you guys do, which is probably even yourself.
Well, and you know what? It's not even,
because it very much is fun. It's fun.
We get
fun to watch two lunatics.
Well, and the thing is, people will be like, Sean, like somebody sent me a message, Sean, you're joking around. Dave doesn't annoy you. It's like, actually, when you're seeing that, Dave's actually annoying me at that point, and we're getting it on camera, right? Or I'm annoying him.
Knock.
Yeah.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Okay. Interrupting cow who? Yeah, anyway, so that's what you get, right? Wow.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't go to
Dave's
school
insights.
to do this thing. You know, like there was no university education involved to put.
I've heard people say that too. It's like, you guys have interesting characters that you developed. It's like, no, that's who the fuck we are. And it's like, it is what it is. Like I say, it's sorry, you know.
So how long how long have you been? Are you still playing, or have you been playing all the way, not through COVID, but like from your early years? Like, did you segue out and then?
Yeah, that's a great question,
What did you do? Yeah.
I moved to Toronto and I was there for Dave's Rolling His Eyes. I was there from '93, and I was playing music, and then I stopped about '96, and I didn't touch a set of drums till 2001. I was just discouraged, didn't like it. The whole shoot match came back, and Dave and I reconnected, and I started playing in 2002, and I've been playing fairly regularly. Up until 3 years ago, I play all the time now. I'm in a band that plays, I don't know, between 50 and 80 shows a year, and it's a lot of fun.
Dave is with you. Dave, you guys are.
No, Dave. Every 15 years we reconnect.
Okay.
And like the world on fire, then he annoys the shit out of me, and we don't talk again for 5 years. But no.
Yeah.
But Dave was playing with you were playing with Midlife Crisis and those guys for a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Those guys.
So
for a long time, I didn't go into the bar scene. When I got off the road and started becoming a mother full time, I was totally out of it, totally out of this. And then Facebook actually was connecting with people on Facebook. Was the thing that sort of, but the kids were little too, and I had a whole other role to play.
That's a good point, Sharon. That's a good point, because your kids aren't young. So who was watching the kids when you were still on the road?
Grandparents.
Okay.
Sister-in-law, and which was great. It's better to have family.
Yes.
Your heart is not as torn up when they're getting love from family. It was also I didn't know I was going to be a mother. I got pregnant the first time at 30 years old. I wanted to do it, but I was working too hard. I wanted to fit it in, and then when I did, it was just too much. It was too much to be doing it all. People do it. Women do it all over the world. For me, I put my heart, soul, and passion into music when I did it. And then when I had one little baby for like 7 years apart. But when I started on that train, it was just it was heartbreaking. I'm too engaged with my children I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know what?
Around town as much as we could, and then what happened because we were making some good money in the duo, TJ and I, in the 80s, 88, 89, and then all of a sudden the GST came in.
Yeah. God love the government when
all the little clubs were cutting. Like we were playing a place here in Woodlawn. You probably could guess what it is, and I don't know.
Probably.
Crickets, yeah. And their budget went from like $1,200 for 3 nights for the two of us to $800.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which is unheard of coin these days, I might add. I understand that. But I also got out at a time when 3 or 4 years after I got out, everything started to change, like drastically.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what do you think it was, Sharon, that changed it? I like to ask people opinion about it, because I mean, Sean and I have our own opinions, of course, but like, even though you were in the bars every day, you would have kept your ears to the ground. Like, what do you think changed?
Just the young kids are growing up. So
yeah.
We're growing older. That was the best time for most of us. We'd say those were the best times of our lives.
Yeah.
Can't say that. So having my children was the best time of my life.
Yep.
Is the best time of my life still. But that certainly was in there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
A certain number 2 actually was in there, especially the first few years. Got to be really strenuous for me towards the end when I was booking. I didn't enjoy having to brag myself up to sell myself. Like, I didn't enjoy that part. I didn't, always had someone doing that, right? So that was hard. But it made a woman out of me. I had to grow up. I had a lot of things that made me uncomfortable. I was people don't understand this about me, but when I was very young, I was a very shy person, always.
Well,
and when I was first getting on stage with Spoons, back in Newfoundland, a couple of the clubs that we played, I only did like 10 songs, so they would only bring me on for 3 or 4 songs.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they were taking it easy on me, working me, because I was very nervous. I was very nervous, but I don't know.
That would not be a word that I would put in my vocabulary to explain Sharon Burry is nervous or shy anymore, but I understand.
I was very, very nervous. The music business bought me out, right? Because it was something that I really wanted to do. Something that I really wanted to do, and I didn't think about anything else.
And, you know, it's funny because people that haven't played in front of people don't understand both the rush and kind of. I was terrified once. It was the very first time I ever played. Never was terrified again after that. Didn't matter what setting. People don't get that. They're like, I could never go on in front of people.
Because, especially if you're going to be a vulnerable person, like,
right.
And I mean that whatever, if what you're putting across is true emotion, which I always try to do, that's one of the things that I always wanted to do when I was on stage. I always wanted to come across authentic, whether I was angry, whether I was pissed off, whether I was being a white chick rocking, whatever I was doing. Like, you know, I just wanted to be true and authentic and to that emotion. I didn't want to be up there wishing I was home watching TV with my hair in a ponytail.
I totally, you know what? That's a good call.
And that, engaged.
And you were like that, because I would always say any performance I've ever saw of you ever, didn't matter what setting was in, you were always real, you know. And that's something that to me is the most important part of watching a band, is that you're authentic, that you're real, that you're being true to yourself, and folks pick up on that. They really do.
Well, music is that, right? Music is a form of communication. So, and you know, there were times when I actually felt after a particular song that some broken heart was feeling this much better, you know. Getting up and dancing with some, you know, someone was feeling, and I always tried to keep that purity in my soul about it. Oh, Jesus, I went through some rugged times with bands on the road. It was just, it wasn't all pleasing for me because I'm still a girl and underneath it all, right? And there was parts of it that were really hard, especially the traveling with a bunch of hoodlums. I just had to meet them at the Palace and, you know, fuck around in the dressing room. Those were good times. But when we were shoved in vehicles, driven all over the hell's creation, like Hazen booked us one time in Richmond, New Brunswick on Saturday night. We had to leave, drive and get the ferry and be in Gander by Monday night, which is doable, but.
Oh yeah, the famous Hazen Horseman rooting stories, right?
It was just incredible. But you know,
so
Sean's got a good one. Sean's got a good Hazen story.
Yeah,
I tell this all the time. So it's a Saturday morning. It's about 7 a.m. My phone rings, and it's Sean. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? You're opening for Platinum Blonde. Okay, great. He goes, get down to the Burger King at the Tacoma Drive. Everybody's meeting down there. So the gig's in Bathurst, right? Okay. So we get down there, we go, and we get on the payphone. Now what, Hazen? Like, we fly into Bathurst? Nope, call a cab. We took a cab from Bathurst, from Dartmouth to Bathurst. We got there. The funny thing is I still see the cab driver. You might have seen, he's got a big beard, and he looks like a guy from ZZ Top. His name was Scotty. Every time I see him, he looks at me and he laughs. He goes, yeah, I remember that fucking drive to Bathurst. He says it to me every time.
But Hazen sat at his desk at work, and you know what? He loved every day of his job. I can tell you that right now. Oh, he loved what he did. He had a lot of spirit. He had a lot of great. He was ahead of his time a lot of the times, and he needed somebody to control him.
Yeah.
Nobody could do it. Not even the guy who owned the building, you know, owned the business. Nobody could do that to him because it'd be like putting his light out. So we had to take him the way that he was, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That was the first fax machine I ever saw. It was 1986 or maybe 87. Walked into the Starmaker's office. I said, oh my, the thing was ringing. I was watching it for like 20 minutes. This piece of paper coming across. Like, oh, this is the coolest I've ever seen in my life. There was like, you know, it was mailed. It was being faxed.
Making all of our posters, for God's sake. I played the Pattis. One of my first gig, I played the Pattis, and my face walked into the room. I just gotten over from Newfoundland. I played a few gigs and everything, but I walked into the Pattis, and here's my face on every freaking
fax machine.
From the paper or the copier. You know, he would do these big old posters of a photo of a group. They did, they did everything that they could back in those days. They promoted us. They put together packages for us. There was a real business going on at the time.
You know what? I'll never fault any of the agents that we had, because it's all the shit you just said, and you did it. You were booking your own band too. So
they did the contract thing with the union. We didn't have to do any of that stuff.
Yep.
Which I later had to do, but they did all of that, filing the contracts, and they took their cuts. And Hazen was good for helping him down his need.
No, yeah.
But you know,
I do know I was forced to go to Newfoundland 4 times because somebody drove a freaking cube van into an underground parking lot and tore the roof off of it. But that's another story for another day.
Look, if we were sitting here long enough and I had enough drink in me, let me tell you something. There's things that would come up. Like, it was a zoo. It was chaos.
I was hoping that was going to happen.
He had me out on the road with Richie. So I don't know if you know that part of my life.
No.
But that was Rhiannon. Yeah, that was Rhiannon. That was those bunch of boys blitz. And Richie was taking some time out. I don't know what was going on with him at the time, but they decided he was going to go out on the road with me and be my road manager. I'm like, okay, how is this going to work out? Me and him on the road, we'll be over a freaking cliff before you know it. Like, this will happen. And we did get in an accident. We did go off the road and demolish a vehicle in a snowstorm later on to tell the story. But so he was out doing sound for me, and he pushed me hard. I have to say about him, he pushed my limits where my singing and my performance was concerned. He was kind of hard and harsh, nasty as could be about it, but he tapped into that thing of me that's full of spite. Just tell me I can't do something.
Yeah.
He tapped into that part of me.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot just from having him. There was a lot that I learned that I didn't need to learn. And, you know, and then it ended up in chaos at the end because it was never meant to be to begin with. And I had told Hazen and Christakis, I had told them in one of Hazen's production meetings that, you know, this was not going to be a good idea and blah, 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 but they did it anyway. And Richie and I remained friends after. We went through a rough time with each other. We were like at odds with each other for years, but then, gratefully enough, we did bury the hatchet and became very good friends at the end, actually. I lost touch with him the last 5 years of his life, but before that, we had been in touch quite a bit.
That's nice.
Yeah.
We talk with this a lot too, Sharon, and it would have been the same thing for you too. I mean, like it's the new normal is that you have like maybe a core group of 2, maybe 3 people, and there's revolving doors for guitar players or bass players or keyboard players or whatever it case to be. That's the new norm. But like in our day, it was like your 3 or 4 or 5 people. Those were your brothers, or in your case, sister. You know that you were there with. That was who you were with constantly. Even when you were off, you were with them. Yeah.
Feelings got hurt. Now it's business. Everything is business. Feelings got hurt back then, right? But I mean, you grew through it. And rock and roll. That's what.
That's right.
That's it.
The vicious game. It was a vicious game. It was a vicious game, but I can't say I regret any part of it, actually.
Well, that was my next question. Is there any regrets?
Mm-hmm. I sometimes say that I wish I had thrown it in earlier, but then I had some really good fun with that country music thing, country rock thing right at the end with Sharon B and the Kick. And I just country songs, and I had some really good fun with that. I was singing, I felt like I was singing more instead of, you know, screaming and yelling and emoting on key. I felt like I was singing a little more.
Sure.
Not the way that I sing blues, not with the same smoothness, but I mean, there was so much of it was just, that does now still too crossover stuff anyway, most of that. So, you know, the authentic country would be the Loretta Lynn and all of that.
Sure. And you're telling a story, yeah. You're telling a story more than just yelling lyrics. Yeah,
this is So, you know, I did some Shania Twain tunes and all covers and things like that. And I had a guy, Glenn Nickel was the bass player in that band. TJ and Brett. That was my last band. And I played the Crazy Horse in May because I just found out I was pregnant with Liam. 21 years. Oh my God. That was my last band, 21 years ago. Well, it would be 22 because I just got pregnant, so I have the job. But 22.
And the streak comes to an end this year. Right?
He's putting a band together. If you know this or not, I can tell. I know the way his mind works, right? I got him. I know him. It's like, you don't even know yet. You don't even know.
I did a lot of work in those years. I did a daycare out of my home for 9 years. Renovated my basement, did a daycare. I married my second husband, and Donnie Donahue, and that's Liam's dad.
Okay.
And then I ran a daycare. Then I went back to school to NSCC. I couldn't even type. I had never learned to type in my life. I had never learned to type. I graduated high school with an academic education. Back then it was academic and general. The generals were the ones that were doing the typing program. We weren't doing that. We were doing science and math and all that foolishness. Never learned to type. So I got a native speaking typing program. And in the daycare, when the kids were sleeping for the nap, I was typing, practicing typing. Then I went to NSCC, and thank God I I learned about, it was just what we call office technologies, something like that. First year business training.
I'm very socially aware of the general program in high school, because that's what got me through it.
Yeah. And so then after that, I started working for FI, Financial Institution, and I've been there ever since.
That's fantastic.
I've been there ever since, yeah.
And now you're going to join a Barashana. That's pretty cool.
What a shift of mindset, that when I look at it, what a shift of paradigm when I look at it as a whole.
But you know what?
I don't think stinky rock and rollers to stinky little kids to this kind of extension.
Well, here's my take on it, Sharon, and I'll be straight and honest with you. Like, to Sean's point earlier, you pioneered this for a lot of women in a lead vocalist role. And to me,
I wouldn't go and say that.
Can I finish my freaking compliment, lady?
Wow.
Okay. Anyhow, so
seriously,
really, like in our time frame, this is what we saw. There was not a lot of women doing what you did, and I think you really pioneered that for a lot of folks who took, like Lisa Melanson, like talked about off camera. Talked to us like, well, I remember Sharon B. Like, she was kind of a fan. She was a fan of yours. You know what I mean? And she's a great singer. So it's kind of nice to see who you inspired by breaking through those, those barriers that you had at the time, because it was not a women's world. It was not. It's still not really. But I mean, you still don't care, and you did it anyhow. I think that's impressive.
There's lots of gigs that Hazen had to push through selling me because they didn't want a band with a girl in it. They didn't want to do that. But there was lots of girls. There were girls who were coming down from Toronto. Remember, like there were the Pinups, which was Sash Jordan's first band. She was playing bass in the band, and she had a young girl guitar player. She had a female on the drums, but a male guitar. It was 4-piece. Sash Jordan was playing bass, and it was called Pinups. It was very, very, very early days. Kevin Ferris knows that band. He could weigh in on this if he ever saw it.
I remember her in the Box, the band that she was about.
Yeah, then she after that. But she was down here a few times with that little. She played. What's that hotel on Brunswick Street? Right down at the end before you go down to Barrington. What was that?
The Weston?
Melanie's. Oh, the room was called Melanie's. It had been called something years before that. And that's where she played. We were playing the Palace, and we were opening for somebody. We're always opening for somebody. And I think we might have been opening for Teenage Head. Have you heard that name?
Love is my favorite band.
Teenage Head.
Love Teenage Head.
That was the circus show. That was fun. Sharing the dressing room, because you remember the dressing room in the Palace, the 2 levels, right? And I always took the top.
Yeah, we always had the shitty one, so yeah.
Right, yeah. So there was all that kind of stuff, yeah. Whatever that guy's name coming up into the top level, because I was up there. I wasn't supposed to be, because he's the headliner. He's kicking me out. I'm going, yeah, no. Where are you from? Coming out and stealing our work. But people used to say they were stealing our work, but they weren't stealing our work. They were educating us what the music business looked like, because there was some pretty professional setup rigs that came through. I mean, I tell you one thing, guilt, that little man that in front of the band, Guilt, what's his name, Shane Moore?
Shane Moore, yeah.
You saw him in his early days of Guilt. He controlled the stage, he controlled the audience, he was a freaking fireball. I wanted to be just like him when I grew up. I saw him a few times in Gander before I came, because remember, my exposure to any kind of bands and scene didn't really happen until I came over here. We only played the Flyers Club. That was the only club that we did, and a couple of other little ones out of town with spoons, but it went so fast. This was over 2 bands over like 3 or 4 months. So when I came over here, I met Richie Oakley. I met Sam Moon. I met Dutch Mason. I met all these people that really didn't mean as much to me as the people that were playing with me, because I was a little green. I didn't know who these people were.
Right.
So I was in a hole, and then I'm playing the Misty Moon like about 6 months after we get over here. Most of these guys, you know, were a lot of guys are struggling all their life just to get that gig. I'm on stage at the minute. I have no idea what it means. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, to figure it all out. I played the Misty Moon with Brian Adams. I think that was before. It was on his Cuts Like a Knife tour, but I don't think that he had at that time. I think he was just breaking into the U.S.
Okay.
So we played the Misty Moon, and we opened for him there. The Spoons opened for him. The next time he came back in town after that, I think he was at the Metro Center.
Do you still talk to John Geddes much?
All the time, yeah. Yeah. I don't talk to him like seeing him in person or anything like that, but we chat on Facebook. Yeah, he's a dear person to my heart. Yeah. Without him, and he believed in me right from, I don't know why, I was such a naive snot nose. I was sweet, but I was very much a rebel at the same time. I had the sweetness, but I was very rebellious for a long time as a child. I wanted to do things my way.
Nothing wrong with that.
What? Sharon wanted to do things her own way? What?
Yeah, I did. And I pushed, and you know, there's lots of big rackets and fights and tensions. I mean, I hear Willie saying, he was talking about one band that he was in, where they didn't have any, I said, I don't remember one arrangement where when you're traveling on the road for weeks on end with a bunch of people in a car, there's going to be dissension and tension, but then you get on stage every night, you work it all out.
Yeah.
And you're loving each other at the end. That's the way it always was.
That's right.
Sometimes the best gigs were when we had the most animosity, because we went up there just fired up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And wanted to roar, right? So
because it's like a family, you know, that's what family does. They work it out, you know, and that's exactly what it's like. That's a good analogy you used earlier.
Well, art has to flow. It can't be locked up in a street. Like, it has to flow. It's going to go through, you know, and that's what music is. It's a flow. I mean, that's why all the songs don't sound the same, and they don't have the same subject matter. There's notes and keys that have moods. It's not about standing still.
No.
Sometimes it could be. Sometimes it could be. But, you know, I'm waxing philosophical.
No, we got some good stuff here tonight for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to cover, Sharon. Like, we got a lot of good stories with you. It was, you know, I know you had to get ready for this, but it was just talking to Sean and I. You know what I mean? Now, millions of people will see you later on, but right now
what I was most concerned about, to tell you the truth, is my memory, because so much is such a condensed time for me. Like, it was from 1980 to 1998, so that's 18 years, but very condensed living. And I bought a house. I was one of those musicians who actually bought a house.
Yeah.
Living off a music salary, like, I bought a house. So I did some stuff.
No, for sure.
Not without all of the people that helped me, not without you know, the key people in all of those situations that were driving with me, driving towards the same goal with me all the time. You know, John Geddes, TJ, you know, everybody, all of the musicians play. I was very fortunate. I had a little band called Ought to Be. Skipped right over them. I don't even know where they fit in. I think they fit in after Rhiannon.
Okay.
And who was in that band?
Or was it after the Spoons? It may have been after the Spoons. I think it was after the Spoons before Rhiannon. Pat Riley.
Okay.
Nice.
Maurice Nadeau. George and Toniat.
Oh, wow.
And Billy McCauley.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was Wayne. I followed Wayne Nicholson twice. I feel that I did. Because I followed him as far as when I started this project called Rhiannon. I was given a couple of Richie's songs to do. I did a song called Goodbye Cruel Love, which Wayne had recorded on an album that never got released. But I did a song called Goodbye Cruel Love, and I won an award that year, actually. A Sennheiser Gold Microphone Award for Music Express magazine. It was sort of like Canada's little.
Oh, and we know Marty Fuller
Rolling
was our.
Stone, right? Back in the day.
Yeah.
And I won an award out of 100 entries for Goodbye Cruel Love. But we never, like, after that, my relationship with Scorpio fell apart after the tour with Richie, and everything stopped. And I was given an opportunity later on down the road to reopen it, but I just was doing my other things then.
Did you do any writing yourself, Sharon?
Yeah.
Any original stuff? Any original stuff?
Lots of things. Yeah, I did a lot of things. We didn't really get a lot recorded in the Spoons, but we had a couple of things that we wrote that were just, hits just out in the bar business, just like little ditties that people would really enjoy and would know it's Plastic Hooker.
Yeah, the Plastic Hooker one, yeah.
Everywhere we went, Plastic Hookers.
I'm gonna try to Google that song. I want to hear it now.
Oh my God. And we did our version of These Boots Were Made for Walking in a really heavy grinding guitar kind of way. It was fun. And John was in for it, of course. He loved all of that stuff. John was an incredible musician. He didn't really show everything that he had in that band. Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. I was going to say that, and I had to take it back because he did really. But I don't know.
So even after you got off the road, there's like you just got out of it altogether. That's pretty much what you did.
I went through a lot after my first. I've been divorced twice. I went through a lot after my first divorce. And I psychologically and mental health wise wasn't, ready to get all of that. Because I don't want to go out and do something halfway. I want to go out and do something like that. I'm never going to be able to do what I want to do right now because number one, that's not out there for me anymore. I'm, 59 years old. I'm all right with that. I'm 1 year off of 60. I'm all right with that. I've done a lot. I've had a lot of fun. But still, no matter what I do, I still want to have some quality in it.
Yeah.
And I fret and worry. I'm a person, my process of the same when I paint. My process is I just I either get in there and do it all like this and it's done. Or for the most part, that's 10% of the time, 90% of the time, everything comes very more difficult for me because I am a perfectionist of certain parts of the creative path. Mm-hmm. And I've been painting now for a few years. I don't show anybody my work. I don't go out and do anything with it because I'm a beginner. I always felt like a beginner too in the music business. I always felt like a beginner. I really did.
You never came off that way.
What?
You never came off that way. No,
I don't know. I always felt there was something more that, there was to be done than what I was trying to do. But at the same time, it was fun. Right at the end, it was fun too. That little country band was very, very fun. It was all fun right through to the end.
You look, to me, you always look very much up.
Question? I think I would have probably, would have ended my career a little earlier.
No. Yeah.
Because Joshua, my oldest son, was 5 years old and I was running on the road. And I wasn't really happy with that. But I felt like I had to at that point. And I don't think that was the best part of my career life when I felt like I had to,
Yeah. When it stops being fun, it's not worth doing anymore.
Yeah.
Like this is, the whole point of being a musician is to be the antithesis of having a normal job. So if it becomes a normal job,
you're an entertainer. You're there to make people happy or make people feel comfortable or bring people up, lift people up. That's what you're there for. You can't do that if you're all You know, and there was a lot of stuff. I mean, how you guys know Spinal Tap is not so funny, right?
Yeah,
I watched it a couple of times. And no, there's some real stuff in there.
Oh yeah.
Many of this in the surface. There's some real freaking stuff in there. Like when they were playing that, were they playing our military base and all these old ladies and
the puppet show.
We did that. We did that. TJ and I did that. I can't remember where the gig was. Cape Breton somewhere.
TJ and Sharon B and the puppet show.
Oh, it was just ridiculous. It was funny.
And, you always, to me, look like a natural and a true champion up on stage. And that's, that's kind of why we wanted to have you on the show, just to kind of celebrate your time with everyone else here. And I mean that sincerely. So
I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that. I'm sorry I'm so difficult. That wasn't that difficult.
No.
I was going to say no a couple of times. Oh, see, that's the Me Too movement. Edit. Edit.
Yeah.
Oh, see.
Oh,
It just goes right. It's not good.
Yeah.
Awkward.
I know.
Stop turning it into a linger.
Yeah. But again, Dave's point. Thanks so much for doing this.
Check 1 2 check.
And we'll have to get out for a beer or something soon.
Yes.
Didn't you hear we're starting
Right
a
across
band?
the street. I'm right across the street.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sharon, seriously, it's been. I'm not even gonna lie, folks. 6 fucking weeks. I've been working on Sharon to get her on this show, and I'm so glad you were here.
6 fucking weeks.
No, I'll go right to fuck back and check my 6 weeks. Anyhow,
Okay.
it was worth it for us to have you on here because again, you're a very important part of this scene. For the women who rock the Maritimes and the people who rock the Maritimes, that's who you are to us. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for coming on the show. We mean that.
Thank you. Thank you. Mwah.
Miss Burry.
Mwah, mwah. Thank you.
I'll go to the other side. Heart.
All right.
Heart.
Oh, heart.
There.
Heart.
I don't do emojis or anything. I don't like gifts either. All right. Peace out.
Barstools